On today's episode of the CX Insider podcast, we sit down and talk to Senior Director of Customer Success for SurveyMonkey, Cormac Kelly. We'll be talking about SurveyMonkey's Ask, Listen, Act ads, how the CX landscape in surveys can evolve, how AI has been integrated, and much, much more. Enjoy the episode, and if you do, subscribe to our YouTube channel for more episodes. This episode has been brought to you by ACF Technologies, global leaders in customer experience management solutions. Now let's get into the episode. Welcome back to the CX Insider podcast. I'm your host Octavian and I'm joined by my co-host Adam.
Hello.
And we're joined by a special guest that goes by the name of Cormac. Would you like to tell us a bit about yourself and your journey in the field of customer success?
Yeah, happy to, Octavian. Thanks for having me on. First off, I do want to say I'm a dad of 3 small kids, so that's my first job. I'm based out of Dublin in Ireland, and I guess my journey in customer success started about 6 or 7 years ago. At the time, I was working for Microsoft. I'd had multiple roles there. I spent in total about 14 years there. I loved the company and still think it does great things. But I was going through a stage where I was doing a lot of internal facing roles there at the time. I mean, there's like 220,000 folks working there, so it's just huge. And so there's lots of those types of roles. And really what I wanted to do was get close to the customer and the product. And I started telling people that, or anyone who would listen to me at the time, they were looking for someone to build out the customer success team for Azure, which is a big kind of huge, immense product. It's just insane what people can do with that product and what they do.
Yeah, we use Azure, know it well.
Yeah, it's great. And you know, that from there kind of went into a wild journey, hiring a team of about 80 across multiple different languages. We were trying to figure out our go-to-market plan multiple times, how we should talk to customers, what skill sets we even needed to have those conversations. And I ran that team for about 5 years. And the customers we were dealing with were, you know, they were running their whole business on Azure. So it was quite a responsibility and you know, I loved it. But there were also a lot of internal stakeholders to keep happy. And sometimes that can kind of distract you from the people on the customer side. And maybe it's hard to affect change in those mega organizations that I wanted to. And so when SurveyMonkey came knocking, I was really, really open to the conversation.
Can you tell us a bit more about the work that you do with SurveyMonkey?
Yeah, sure. So I manage a couple of different functions at SurveyMonkey. So my title is Senior Director of Customer Success, but I also manage the team that manages the onboarding of our SurveyMonkey enterprise customers. So when sales close the deal, I guess, we take the experience from there. And for the first 60 days, our onboarding specialists kind of guide them through the product and how to use it and help get them up and running. I also manage a product called Apply and the team around that. And Apply is a great offering that we have that's aimed mainly at kind of education and NGOs, and it's all around the application process, as the name suggests. And then I manage the EMEA and APAC team. So got about 20 folks just on that team and 45 people in general on the team. So we manage a relationship, I guess, with 3,000 customers or so, specifically in the EMEA APAC region. We help them figure out the best way to use our products. So hopefully they get value. Hopefully we can solve some pain points for them in their business. And we also take their customer voices and we look to, I suppose, maybe affect some change in our product to enable them to do things a little bit more effectively. Look, that's the essence of what customer success is. It means different things to different companies, but when you boil it down, it's kind of like, you know, Ron Seal, it should do what it says in the tin and, you know, really understand what the customer's goal is and how the product can enable that. And hopefully they'll continue to use our products and maybe even use more of it. And that's kind of where we come in.
I've seen your recent Ask, Listen, Act ads and I've absolutely loved them. Like, they were so entertaining. Can you tell us a bit more about how effective they were? And just the process behind the advertisements that SurveyMonkey create?
It was part of resurfacing the SurveyMonkey brand. We changed name for a couple of years to Momentive, and that kind of came about after we purchased a number of different products. And probably we didn't lean on the SurveyMonkey brand enough because I think everyone has probably heard of or used SurveyMonkey. And we kind of reverted back to just, you know, driving more of that brand recognition again within the market. And the ads were a huge success. I think within about 4 weeks, TikTok hashtag went for SurveyMonkey search from like, I think it was 200,000 to over 9 million. Half a billion audience impressions, and it just drove a lot of growth in signups. So we were delighted with that, obviously. And
yeah, that's marketing money well spent.
yeah, absolutely. You know, great success. I think it won a couple of awards as well. So we kind of went all out on it, which we hadn't maybe done before. And so, yeah, it was great. And interesting, we actually went back to SurveyMonkey as a brand. We changed our name back to SurveyMonkey. So we got a new CEO, and in the first couple of days, he announced the change back to SurveyMonkey. It was a great win early in his tenure, and there was literally cheers in the office when you know, it was announced we were going back to the SurveyMonkey name and brand. And so folks in the company have a real affinity for the brand and the culture that it stands for.
SurveyMonkey are a leading survey platform across the globe with a wide range of ways that customers can use the service. But what are some services that use the platform, and what are the best results that Cormac has seen?
We have cloud companies that are integrating into their customer support and into Salesforce. We have customers where the HR department is running their employee engagement surveys, payment providers who are surveying customers' experience and how they're transferring money, football clubs who are using it to kind of understand more about their online stores, but also how they do their academy trainings and improve the experience of how they train kids and run events. We have airports and airlines that measure experience of their passengers. It's just kind of it's insane. And then we also have really positive things like mental health services who improve obviously the lifelong mental health of folks, but they kind of understand how they can work with families better and provide better treatment. So, it's just incredibly varied, the types of use cases that we have. And I suppose what I've found is the customers that are using it most effectively are the customers that don't ask too many questions. They're super clear of what they're trying to find out as part of the survey, usually as part of a bigger customer experience or go-to-market strategy. Then they evolve those questions and ask them regularly so you can trend it over time. It's not a one and done type of a thing. And then crucially, you tie the feedback that you get back into other data that you have so you can tell a really, really broad story. And probably two of the best results I've seen is where there's a pretty well-known shoe brand where our main contact has been promoted twice in the last 3 years, which could be the length of our contract, our agreement with them actually, but it's just insane to see how they've just taken the data and told a brilliant story and progressed so well. And then we have a big online fashion retailer, and what they do actually is they're surveying customers to ensure that the models they're using are representing a diverse range of folks, which again is kind of one of the core values of SurveyMonkey as a brand. So yeah, the breadth and the value the customers get out of the product is exciting, I think.
This is quite a big question, but how do you envision the landscape of CX within surveys evolving in the next 5 to 10 years?
Well, that is the $1 million question, Octavian.
Wow.
Look, I think where do I go from there, Adam? I think the short answer, obviously, is that feedback will need to evolve with the customer experience landscape. But I do think it's going to become even more relevant. So taking a step back, I think, when people think about customer experience, people's mind often initially go to support. Mine doesn't. I kind of think about every interaction that a customer may have across all the different touch points with the company and also the building blocks that make up those interactions. So the marketing cycle, the sales cycle, the customer cycle, the support function for sure, but also what happens in the product or in the platform, if it's a platform you're selling. How is the development of that product evolving with the customer needs? What other folks that are not your customers or what your actual customers are saying about your brand, but then also the internal processes and tools and reports that go into enabling your customer and your customer facing team. So all of these are touch points that you need to kind of assess and understand. And obviously the big shift that we're seeing is the move to AI. And I think the ultimate goal of any AI and any customer strategy should be trying to make life simpler for their customers and their employees and for their users to affect whatever change they're trying to do. Everybody's talking about it. Everybody's trying to deploy it. We're hearing about Bard and GPT and others, but I actually saw a stat from one of our research teams that said 57% of folks are still using ChatGPT for fun. So, it's still kind of a little bit of a new thing in the market, Now, obviously that's going to change, but I do think companies ultimately need to be super thoughtful about how they deploy AI. Everyone wants to get on the AI gravy train, but AI is essentially data and learning and outputs based on that data. And when you think about it, again, when I think about AI in a customer perspective, I kind of think it in two ways. It's the proactive versus reactive AI. If it's proactive, and what I mean by that, if it follows a process or like kind of an if-then loop, it's more effective than when it's reacting to a customer issue. And I think that's where companies need to think about how it's being perceived in the market or how is their brand being perceived in the market. Don't just go and do AI because you think you should be doing AI.
You've just recently implemented a new AI, haven't you?
We have. Yeah, we have.
Tell us a little bit more about that. How's that going?
Yeah. I mean, that's really the follow on the previous question. Obviously, for us to kind of evolve, we need to kind of continue to evolve our offering. And so our tagline is kind of ask, listen, act. That's really what we're trying to do. And you called it out perfectly when he was talking about the ad. And what we'll need to do is kind of enable customers to ask in a better way, listen more thoughtfully, and then hopefully you can act quickly and with precision. That's ultimately what we will continue to evolve the product to do. So when we think about AI, we have Build with AI, where you kind of can write a short prompt of what you want to do, and you'll literally get a whole survey suggested to you. So you need to send a survey, but you don't really know where to start, which is the case for a lot of folks who are writing their first survey. That helps you do that in literally 30 seconds. And then it also goes a little bit a little bit deeper in things like question type predictor. Is it the right type of question? So you start typing your question, it will tell you, should it be multiple choice? Should it be check boxes? How are you going to get the best data out of that question? It will also, when you're finished your survey, review your survey draft, which I think is brilliant. And it'll kind of detect issues and say, you know what, your structure is wrong, or this question format is wrong. And it'll recommend ways to improve that. And it will also suggest, here's how many respondents we think you're going to get based on the quality of your survey. So I think that's really good. So you get the quality of the survey right first time. Then there's other things like, you do get some poor quality responses. It helps you filter it. Those are a bit quicker. Sentiment analysis. I don't know if any of you have looked through like those open fields text that you get from surveys. And there's just a lot of surveys there. So sentiment analysis kind of picks out keywords and kind of key trends and helps you kind of spot trends that you otherwise may have missed. And
so if the word price just constantly comes up in
exactly
a free text box, it'll highlight it to you, or delivery time or whatever.
Exactly. That's exactly it, Adam. So yeah. So again, as everything changes, we got to get quicker. You got to surface things in the right way. You got to help people make decisions, the right decisions quickly. I think that's where the landscape is going.
And with AI, and I mean, that sounds amazing. And actually, I have to confess, I am one of the people that uses ChatGPT for a bit of fun sometimes.
Yeah, it's good fun.
Some of the stuff it can do is amazing. I think in the moment my son realizes he can go write me a story in the style of a 10-year-old for his homework.
You're in trouble then.
I'm serious trouble. Yeah, absolutely. You got 3 kids as well, so keep them off it. But I'm also interested in how AI clearly, if implemented correctly and used correctly, can make a massive difference to customer experience and customer success. But do you think it also aids or does the opposite for experience of staff?
I think I heard a guy called Dan Gingiss talk about this before, and he talks about the infinity loop between customer experience and employee engagement, which, if you think about it, makes a lot of sense, but I probably didn't connect it in that way. So engaged employees are just going to care a lot more and do a lot more for your customers. And so when I was kind of thinking about the conversation we were going to have today, I looked up like what are the 2 biggest use cases that we have across all of our customer base, and it's actually it's employee engagement and it's customer engagement. So it's HR departments trying to figure out how engaged their employees are, and it's not, and I mean kind of engaged in the company mission, because it's not just employee satisfaction. It can sometimes be a kind of a point in time. This is kind of an ongoing understanding of how engaged folks are. Do they understand the mission of the company? Do they understand the strategy? Do they understand what they're trying to do on a day-to-day basis? And there was a recent study done, I think it was Gallup, that said that 70% of American workers are not engaged at all. And I think it's really easy for your customers to tell that.
It's quite depressing.
Yeah, it is a little bit. I think what it leads you to kind of think about, or certainly it leads me to think about, is how you communicate to your employees, how you make sure that they feel part of the big changes and the small changes is incredibly important. They have to feel, certainly in their day-to-day job, that they can affect change, they can give feedback, and that it's going to be heard. And I think that's incredibly important. I do remember like my first kind of couple of weeks in Microsoft, I was a low-level employee, but my priorities were actually called out in the SVPs, and I kind of felt, oh, actually what I'm doing actually means something for the whole company. So I think that was a kind of an early example of whereby I felt, I'm invested in the success of the whole company. And I think that's just a hugely important thing. I mean, I'm gone off track a little bit now, but I recently saw something on the Irish media where Dublin Airport, there's parking out there, and some guy had obviously jumped out of the car, taken the kids out, left the windows open in the middle of October. One of the employees went over, got some plastic sheeting and covered the open windows for him until he came back from his holidays a couple of days out. And that's an example of an engaged employee. That's someone who really cares about.
And that's also a returning customer.
Blew up on social media then, Adam. You know what I mean? It was just, and you can imagine what that's doing for the brand of Dublin Airport. Like, okay, you think it's only parking, but actually it's not just parking, because they really care about your experience and what goes wrong.
Well, parking, if you get your parking wrong, I mean, I recently flew from Bristol Airport, and we done a service where you pay, they pick up your car, they drop you off, whatever. We get there, the guy's not there. We phone him up, he's still not there. We're standing in the rain at 6 a.m. Turns up and he's eating his breakfast. You're like, well,
yeah,
not going to use them again. It's just amazing how that one single employee has now tarnished my view of that brand. Whereas there might be a fantastic brand and everyone else might have been perfect, but that one guy, his fault, I'm not going to use them again. So It's getting that message, isn't it, into every single one of your staff. And I'm very, I'm intrigued, and I'm quite impressed to see how someone like Microsoft, when you were there for so long,
Yeah.
with hundreds of thousands of employees, drip feed that down everybody. That's it's impressive work.
I'll give you an example from my job. My role in SurveyMonkey came along because of employee feedback. There was no director or leader who was based in Europe in our company on the customer success side. That came about as part of an employee engagement survey that we did, and we followed up with some more detailed questions. I would say but they did beforehand, and ultimately the result was they opened up a role and they hired me. And so that's kind of like, that was employees affecting change right away. They felt like there needed to be more of a customer voice from Europe. We need to kind of represent our customers a bit more. And so, yeah, I mean, I'm thankful for employee engagement in that instance, I have to say.
I bet. Yeah, brilliant. Okay. And how long have you been at SurveyMonkey now?
So I've been here, I'll be 2 years now at the end of the first quarter. I'm still thinking in quarters at the end of March.
Wow. Okay.
It's been great.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
In recent times, there has been a boom in personalisation through all aspects of life. But where is personalisation headed? And what are some standout examples that Cormac has experienced?
I think the thing about personalisation is now, especially younger generations, they just expect it. They expect when you are in contact with a customer, they know immediately that it's you. They have all your details. They can resolve your problem pretty quickly or, answer your question straight away. But it's not just that. I mean, if you think about it, I went for a coffee this morning and went into my local coffee shop, opened up my phone to pay. My iPhone opened up suggested my loyalty app so that I could tap and get my free coffee, right? So they are obviously tracking, they're tracking my location where I am. And that's kind of just the start of it, that my local supermarket does the exact same. And I went on a trip recently. I think I might have mentioned this to you before, Adam, but I was in San Diego, and I think Marriott emailed me like about 4 times or 5 times in the couple of days leading up to my trip and to my arrival, kind of suggesting different options for me, suggesting different things to see in San Diego, asking me, did I want my phone to be my key? All of those things, just to kind of based on how far I was away from my departure. So I think it's really interesting, and I think it can really improve the customer experience. I think it's going to be a bit of a challenge moving forward for companies to make sure they maintain the ownership of their customer experience. And what I mean by that is, do you follow Bill Gates on LinkedIn by any chance? Or follow his notes?
I do follow his notes. Yeah. I certainly pop up on my feed quite a lot.
Yeah, exactly. They popped up on my feed, and I read them sporadically, right? But this week, I actually did read it, and he talked about the concept of agents. And agents are essentially our own personal assistant. It's essentially like, think about it as you get into your car after work to drive home. You're about an hour from home, and you say, I'd love some pizza tonight. Your personal assistant or your agent will know where you buy your pizzas, what you want, what time you'll be home, because it'll be tracking you on the way home. And by the time you arrive home, your pizza's like arriving 2 minutes later. That's the dream for some people, I guess. I'm not sure if that's the dream, but that's the dream for some people. What I think it presents as a challenge for companies, and why I think, again, feedback and understanding, what your customer experience is hugely important, is you kind of lose control of, like, who did you order from at that stage? You know what I mean? Like, I heard a guy from Domino's talking recently, and he was talking about a lot of his orders go through Just Eat now. So who owns that customer experience now? Is it Domino's or is it Just Eat? And at the same conference, Uber were in talking about the new Uber driver offering that I think that's coming into the UK. So how do you ensure that, the experience that your end customer is getting from the purchase right through to delivery is consistent with your brand? So you're going to have to be really thoughtful about the partnerships that you have. You're going to have to be really kind of measuring those partnerships on a regular basis to ensure that they're representing who you are, your customers are experiencing things the right way. So the personalization piece is just going to be incredibly interesting at how it evolves, because I think Gates thinks it's going to evolve to that agent thing over the next 5 years.
It wouldn't surprise me.
Be very convenient as well, if something like that happens.
For sure.
I mean, funny enough, I speak a lot to the automotive sector, and I was in Germany earlier in the year, and they talk about the in-car system. Obviously back in the day, it was just a CD player or even a cassette player or the radio. Then it became your sat nav. Now you just plug your smartphone into it, and now you expect it to do everything your smartphone does. They're actually evolving it. So just what you said, Cormac, that you'll be driving home, you say you're hungry, it'll integrate in with your Just Eats and all this kind of stuff, and you press a button and it'll order your pizza from your car. Yeah, we're all going to be lazy, wanting instant information. and probably obese by eating too many of these takeaways.
Yeah, eating too many pizzas.
Too many pizzas.
The future looks good,
absolutely.
Adam. The future looks good.
That looks great. Like the movie Wall-E, if you've ever seen that. But yeah, it's interesting as well what you were saying about the ownership of the customer experience. Because again, I'll draw on the car automation one, is if you're a manufacturer, let's say a Mercedes, but you don't buy generally directly from Mercedes, you buy from a third-party dealer. So who owns it? Is it the car manufacturer? Is it the dealer who sold it to you? And there's always that kind of like slopey shoulder. It's not our fault, it's their fault.
Well, this is the thing. This is the thing. You don't want to get customer as a customer. You totally don't want to get into that loop. But also, as a brand, you want to make sure as well that you're serving up the right experience. And so it's going to be really interesting to see how everything evolves over the next while.
And that's going to be a challenge with data as well, because back on your kind of Domino's Just Eat thing, who owns the data? Is it Domino's do Domino's have the permission to survey that customer who ordered his meal deal? Or is it Just Eat that have and it's all that kind of stuff? So yeah, it's going to be some challenges, certainly.
There are. I mean, I think, the point you were also making about the automotive, I think, isn't there a little bit of an argy-bargy going on between the big tech companies and the car companies about who owns the dashboard, right? Because the dashboard is the experience you're having. Is it going to be Apple or Google or Android, or is it going to be, like you said, Mercedes or Volvo? Yeah. So the kind of integrations and the partnerships are going to be important. And as you're a brand, you're going to think about, well, am I backing the right partnership here? Am I backing the right agent moving forward? And all of those things are going to be interesting to see how it evolves over the next while.
Absolutely. Cormac, I've actually got a question, which is more of my own, just something personal for me. I definitely understand the importance of surveys between B2C to consumer. And I also absolutely can agree more with surveys internally to manage staff. What about the kind of B2B market? Do you think they are as useful, or they get used as much in that industry? And what I mean for like that, let's say you are a software firm and you're providing to a large enterprise organization.
Yeah.
Do you think those surveys can be used then? Because it's the one side where I don't often see it used, and perhaps I'm just wondering why.
We absolutely have customers who use it in that way. Again, I think it's the same principles, Adam. To be perfectly honest with you, it's really around, are you serving your customer in the right way? I think we also have seen customers use it in a sales kind of, not a sales capacity, but in an engaged capacity. Are you engaged with the right people who can give you the right information? I think we've seen it used in that way. And I think we've also seen it used to make sure, and this is especially true when you're working with enterprise customers, are you evolving your product in the right way? Because enterprise customers are quite demanding when it comes to product and quite specific when it comes to product. And so having a real handle on the experience that your enterprise customer is having, tying that back into, again, to the other information that you have, it gives you just a more rounded view and a rounded understanding of the relationship with not just one customer, but with a cohort of customers. And again, I think all of these things is, how do you scale all of these things? You don't serve one customer, you serve multiple customers. How do you take this data, understand and improve the experience for one, and then apply that to as many as you possibly can?
Thank you to everyone for listening. I've been Octavian, and I hope you've enjoyed the discussion. Let us know what you think of this episode by carrying on the conversation on LinkedIn at CX Insider Podcast. This episode is brought to you by ACF Technologies, global leaders in customer experience management solutions. Let's get into some quick fire questions. Rugby or football? Because I know how popular rugby is in Ireland.
It is, yeah. I'm actually a Gaelic football, so it's kind of like nearly a combination between the two. And throw basketball into the mix as well. But if I had to pick the two, probably rugby.
So your favorite music genre?
Right now it's anything by Peppa Pig. But prior to that, it was kind of showing my age here. It was probably the Manchester scene of the kind of 90s and 2000s, or early 90s, 2000s, Stone Roses. And that type of a genre.
Very nice.
We won't ask you to sing Peppa Pig.
or the Stone Roses, hopefully.
Do you prefer concerts or cinemas?
Oh, good question. I would say a concert. Yeah, concert.
That's good. Yeah, I see what you're saying. What would you say, Adam?
Concert. Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the best concert you've ever been at?
Oh, The Killers in Cardiff was very good. I want to go and see Tenacious D. Do you know who they are?
Yeah. I do.
Just for fun. Yeah.
I'd say
The Killers.
It's Jack Black, isn't it?
Yeah. Just crazy, stupid music. But I reckon it's probably very entertaining.
I'd say it was fun.
Kings of Leon were good. But I've seen Foo Fighters, amazing. Yeah. How about you? Come on, who's your favorite?
There's been two that have been standout for me. One, have you ever heard of a band called The National?
I have. Yeah.
They played in just in a small venue in Dublin, the Olympia, and it was just unbelievable. The guy just knows how to work a crowd, and they play music that kind of continues to build and build and build through the song. And then the other one, I went to a big outdoor concert in a place called Slane in Ireland, and it was U2. They were just phenomenal, and the Red Hot Chili Peppers were supporting them. So
wow,
like between the two of them, it was just amazing.
That's
and a lot of people
support.
Massive support. It was unbelievable. Yeah, unbelievable.
It's not really a support, is it? Yeah.
No, I mean, you two are not necessarily universally loved in Ireland, but they make some great music. Their old stuff is fantastic. You know, I'd love to see them.
They've been pretty successful.
Yeah, they're doing all right.
Yeah, he's done all right.
Yeah.
How about you, Octavian? You've been to see many concerts?
I've gone to a few. I love music. I love going to concerts. Reading Festival was good in 2016. That was. My favourite concert is a guy called The Weeknd.
Yeah.
Oh, I like The Weeknd. Yeah, The Weeknd.
He's my favourite right now. His concert was incredible.
He's a talented guy.
Yeah, my daughter can do some pretty funny TikTok dances to some of his songs.
Really?
Yeah, I'm not going to do them. I won't even do it for her. I'm not going to do it for you guys.
That's what we were waiting for there, Adam. That's what we were waiting for.
No, definitely not. No, definitely not.